Hey everybody, welcome to the channel, True Crime Stories. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like button and subscribe so you can hear more. Thanks for stopping by. I want to talk about, I've got some different types of videos coming up for the month of October. I hope to be able to work on them and edit them and post as many as I can between now and Halloween. This is a little different than what I normally talk about. But if any of you have watched the movie Sinners on whether you went and watched it in the theaters or if you've watched it on a streaming. I've seen it several times. I think I've probably watched it 2 or 3 times. Now, this is a movie, and when I watched the movie for the very first time, I didn't put this together. To me, this was just a movie about vampires. And then I come up on this video on YouTube, but what it comes down to, and it's a really good movie, but to give my own rough rundown of the movie. These two brothers, they're black. I think this is either in the 20s or 30s, maybe in the 1930s in the South. They're gangsters. They're twin brothers and they're gangsters, and they go out and do what gangsters do. And they come back to the South. There's this one young man in the story. His father is a pastor, a preacher of a church, and he wants his son to follow in his footsteps. The son is a very talented musician. He plays guitar. He's very talented. And he wants, of course, to break into this music world. And he wants to play the types of music that people are coming to hear in this year and time. And we all have heard the story. If you haven't heard the story of Robert Johnson, there have been a lot of movies made about him throughout the year, a lot of videos, a lot of stuff talked about him through the years. And if you've ever watched the movie Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And they come to this crossroads and they meet this young black man carrying a guitar, and they offer him a ride. And they go and they make this record album at this studio, and they become famous. Now, the story goes way back. This was a young black man in the South. Now I'm going to just read from this. The myth states Robert Johnson sold his soul to the devil at a crossroads in exchange for the mastery of exceptional guitar skills playing the blues. Though this is a legend rather than a confirmed fact, the story gained traction due to his musical talent and his mysterious death at the age of 27. Now, this legend was perpetrated by Johnson himself through his lyrics. So he wrote songs about this. And in one movie that I watched about him, or one TV show I watched about him, supposedly the lyrics that he was writing were being written actually by the devil. The devil was supposedly telling Robert Johnson what to sing about. So while Robert Johnson is singing, he's actually putting out the words that the devil has told him. Now, the story claims that Robert Johnson was a less talented musician, but he showed up at a crossroads in the Mississippi Delta at midnight. Now, a man pulls up in this fancy car, and I've seen so many versions of this. In one version, it even goes back even further to where the man shows up in like a horse-drawn carriage. And now this man pulls up. He's dressed really well. He's just a slick type. Now keep that in mind as well for just a minute. Now the man implied to be the devil. He tuned his guitar and he gave it back to Robert Johnson. And he asked Robert Johnson, what would you do in exchange for being the best guitar player and to become famous and to make the best music? And so they made a deal. And it was said that Robert Johnson sold his soul to the devil. You can look Robert Johnson up. You will find hundreds of stories and videos about him. This one man who knew him prior to him becoming famous said that he was just your average guitar player. He wasn't no standout, and nobody was really like running to seek him out. But he was never really known to be this great musician. And despite the popularity, the historical evidence suggests his improved musical skills stemmed from practice. There is supposedly another legend or myth, and I'm not sure if it's been proven or not, but they say that there was a scrap of linen where he scribbled his last words, and someone got it and they put it in this like a glass case to keep it like in a museum. And it reads, now these were supposedly Robert Johnson's last words before he passed away. I know that my Redeemer liveth, and he will call me from the grave. He died at a young age in 1938 under mysterious circumstances. But when I started this, I started talking about this movie, Sinners, which is kind of somewhat similar. The young man in this story that I know of doesn't sell his soul to the devil, but he's at his father's church. His father is trying to get him not to go. He's saying, don't leave. Don't go there tonight to play music. Stay here with us at the church. Stay here with us. Play your music here in the church. Let the, people in the congregation hear your music and play the Lord's music. So, but the draw of the club, the draw of playing the type of music he wanted to play and to being around the types of people who wanted to hear that music was stronger for this man than the church. So he goes off and I don't want to give the whole movie away, but I'll just say that it is about vampires and it is about music. And there's some really good music in this movie, despite the fact that it is really just a very it's not I didn't see it as being a scary movie. I suppose it would scare people, but compared to some others, to me it had a really good storyline. I'm not here to promote this movie. I'm just saying, when this woman, when I clicked on this video and I started watching it, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I do see that now, what they were talking about. And I don't even know if that was really even the intention of the writers and the people that put this movie out there, but it makes good sense. So did Robert Johnson create this legend knowing that this would live throughout the history and people would talk about him for decades and decades to come? Did someone else? Now, he died in August of 1938 at the age of 27 from suspected poisoning. Now, it was likely that the jealous husband of this woman that Robert Johnson was known to be messing around with had poisoned him and killed him. Now, the exact cause of death remains unconfirmed, and this is just another part of this myth. It was said that they believe that he actually died from syphilis. And it is likely he had syphilis, and it was suspected later by medical professionals who looked at Robert's symptoms in the last couple of years of his life. But the legend of him being poisoned by a jealous husband gets more attention. And so this is the story of Robert Johnson, which, like I said, when I started this video, I didn't intend for this to be what this was about, but it does compare to the story in the movie Sinners. But basically, she's talking about how Sinners compares to Hollywood and the music industry and the Hollywood industry, the movie industry. Fame, fortune, these people selling their souls to the devil, so to speak, for the fame and fortune. What are you willing to do? We've seen over the last several years so many people. I don't want to get into politics, and if it becomes a political discussion, I'll probably turn comments off, because I didn't come here to talk about politics. But we see so many people who are anti this side or anti that side. But if you look at Hollywood and you look at the music industry, the majority of them are anti one side. Are those people, those human being people, really anti this or pro that? Or are they being told to say that they are? And the fear of losing their place in the public, the fear of losing. I just watched a video about this the other night about a young black actor who'd made several really good movies. I don't want to say his name because, like I said, I didn't come here to talk about that, but he'd made several really good movies. He was really moving up the ladder in Hollywood in these movies. And all of a sudden, he just kind of disappeared. He wasn't making movies anymore. He appeared in a couple of interviews where he talked about the difference in pay from one race of actor to another race of actor, and he talked about a few things like that. This kind of gave the people out in the public the thought that this was the reason he wasn't making a lot of movies, was because he was turning down roles or whatever because he wasn't being offered enough money. But what was said is that he refused a role. He refused this so-called test that a lot of actors go through in their careers. And it's mostly black actors. We've all seen this Cat Williams talking about this. It's kind of a ritual. It's a embarrassment ritual. It's a ritual to say, what are you willing to do? Just like Robert Johnson, the devil said, what are you willing to do to become the best guitar player and to be the most fame? It's kind of the same thing right here. These people, what are you willing to do? So they put on tutus in movies. They dress as women, and we all watch Medea, and we've all seen Big Mama's House and a lot of these types of movies, but it goes deeper than that, according to a lot of the insiders and the ones who are not willing to do it. And what happens to their careers? What happens to them as they become known as non-hireable in Hollywood? They don't get the roles. And that's what happened to this young actor, according to a lot of insiders. And a lot of people said the reason why he wasn't getting offered these roles is because he refused a role where he was to. It's like if you think back about it and you think back, these people started out with careers in Hollywood. They started out with movies, and then all of a sudden, they're in these roles where they are dressing up like women, or they are like white chicks. That's one example. And I don't want to steal Cat Williams, theories or whatever, but he does talk a lot about that and how it hurt his career. Video, this woman talks about how the movie Sinners compares to the insiders in the running of Hollywood, and the agents and the deal makers and the people behind. So I found it, and this woman's name is Chloe Bailey. And if you're interested in watching this video, I'll put a link down in the comments. So in this video, in this story, she's saying that she refused to sell her soul to the Hollywood industry devil. And she compared the movie Sinners to this. Now in this movie, there's a scene where they're in this dance club. It's a, not like I said, 1920s or 1930s honky tonk type place, a blues club type place. And they're all playing music, and everybody's having a good time, and everybody's up dancing, and everybody's just really enjoying themselves. And then you start seeing, and I'm not sure who it is in the movie if that is seeing this. Maybe it's the man playing the guitar, playing the music. But you start seeing throughout the history, you see a clip of different singers throughout history. They're out there on this dance floor. This woman compares this to how somebody starting out in Hollywood, or starting out not even in Hollywood yet, but somebody just starting out, young, talented, wanting to break into this industry, music or movies or whatever it might be. And they may have a good following. People might really like them. They might go out and they might play on a stage at their local county fair, or they might get to open for a local band, and then somebody sees them, and it just kind of takes off from there. And one day they'll get approached by some, and we've all seen this. There's a movie, I can't even tell you the name of it, and it's about this young girl. She's really talented. She's seen, she's discovered, and they take her to this, they put her up in this apartment. They say, we're going to give you this album. And they pair her with this guy who's an actor who she really doesn't even know. But they tell everybody out there that the two of them are dating, that they're involved in this relationship. This is intended to boost both their careers. And we all see that happen too. We all see Hollywood types all come together. Like you may have this singer who's really famous singer and this really famous sports guy or someone, and they get together, and then all of a sudden everybody's watching them. Or you may have some newcomer to the scene, somebody who's really not well known, who's just breaking through, and they get paired up with, or maybe to the American public, to the world public, they've met each other and they've found love together, and they're so happy. It's this up and coming actress or singer, and here's this famous, well known sports guy or actor. And they get together, and then all of a sudden their careers boost. And everyone watching it thinks, isn't that great? They're in love. But behind the scenes, there's these people calculating how this will affect their careers. And, this girl, she had a boyfriend back home, small town America, she really liked. But her agent and her people were telling her, no, you want to be with the famous person. You want to get that fame and fortune, and you want the people to be focused on your relationship. So she starts talking, this Chloe Bailey, she's talking about how she watched this movie Sinners, and when I went back and watched it for the second time, I saw it through what she was saying as to how the vampires in this movie, compared to the vampires who are the people behind the scenes of these, agents producers, directors. If you watch this whole special that they did about the kids, young actresses and actors from Nickelodeon throughout the years and what was happening behind the scenes there. This goes back as early as Shirley Temple back in the 20s and 30s. It probably went back even farther than that, but we just didn't hear about it. But this was child abuse. It was child sexual abuse. And when you take children and you put children into that role and young people, you don't really want to say what were they willing to do, but what was being done to them. Who was aware of it, who wasn't aware of it, who was covering it up, and who was aware of it and was kind of like ignoring it or pretending it wasn't happening or kind of not caring if it was happening or not because they were standing to gain something from it. So another thing that they talk about in this movie, this musician, he's being told music is carried throughout the ages. Music is carried throughout the souls of the people, and it's passed on, whether it's through your family or through your community or through the people that you grew up listening to. He's being told you're honoring the people that came before you with your music. And his father's telling him, honor God and honor what's righteous and honor yourself by playing music that respects yourself. But the more fame and the more hotness of it all is from the vampire side of it. This is where the vampires come into this movie. They show up at this club at the door and they want to come in. They're white, they're Irish, and they're like kind of like a bluegrass folksy type band they play that type of Ireland Irish folk music. It's really good music. This band that plays in this are really good. And if you haven't watched this movie, you may want to watch it, you may not. Like I said, I really liked this movie. And when I heard this woman speak and I went back and watched it a second time and saw, okay, I see it now. I see what she's talking about. But this Irish band, they show up at the door. They want to come in. They're like, we want to come in. But this manager, this guy that is running this club, just refuses. You know, you can't come in. So they leave and they go back down the road just a little ways, but they're close enough to the club that they can hear their music being played. So all these people are inside this club, and down the street they can hear, down the road, they can hear these Irish band people out there singing and playing music. So the white woman, and I don't know if this is part of the metaphor of all this or not, but she says to the man that she's interested in, one of the other twin brothers, she says, I'm going to go out there and talk to these people. So she goes out there and she's like saying to them, she's trying to figure them out. She's trying to find out, what's your angle? What is it that you want here? Because she's white and they're white, I guess she thought, okay, I'll go out and talk to them. And this is kind of where everything picks up from. So this has to be some metaphor there, that this woman went out to greet them and to meet them and to talk to them. But the vampires spend the night trying to get into this club. Now, we've all heard the folklore of vampire themes, that a vampire won't come into your home or into your space unless you invite them. So that's kind of where that came from. They wanted to be invited. They didn't just walk up to the door and walk inside. And when they were not invited, they went down the road, played their music, drawing somebody to them. She goes on to talk about how this, with her own career, she says that her career didn't take off like she had hoped. Even though I've seen some music videos of her dancing and stuff, and it is what you would expect. The nudity nearly, and just stuff we've seen in rap music videos and dance music videos, and um, women half dressed, half naked, grinding, and all that. This is kind of where this comes from. She says that they wanted her to do even worse things in her music and in her dance, and she refused. So she's explaining in this story that the vampires are telling this young black man, we want to come in there with you. We want to give you our gift. We want to play music with you, and we want to teach you, and we want you to have everlasting fame. We want to make everything better for you. Now, if you think about Hollywood, you think about not just, I don't want to just keep saying the word Hollywood. Hollywood is just, to me, it's just being used as a metaphor for fame. If you think about the people pushing fame, whether you're in Hollywood or Nashville or New York or wherever, people do these things. Improv places and just small town theaters. I'm sure it happens everywhere. Somebody might want to go out for the school play at their high school, and they're willing to push somebody else away or out of that role so that they can get it. They're willing to, smear them or what. It goes, Hollywood is just a word for what are you willing to do? How far are you willing to go? How far are you willing to bend? And there's always these people in the background saying they can make you even more famous than you ever dreamed. And they have. They've made a lot of people more famous than they ever dreamed. They've made people richer than they ever thought. But they can also take it away. We've all seen people being canceled. We've all seen people being shunned, being removed from their shows, being whether they deserved it or they didn't. Maybe their own words led them to having this happen to them, or they didn't go along with what the insiders, the people hiding in the shadows, were saying. Go along with us, tell us what, tell everybody what we're telling you to tell them. There's an actor, I wish I could think of his name right now. He's been in a lot of really good movies. A lot of TV shows. He was in Yellowstone. Can't think of his name right now. When he first started acting and he started taking roles, he told the people that he would not do any love scenes, that he was happily married man. He had a happily, marriage with his wife. And to him, in his faith and in his marriage vows, even kissing a woman in a movie role was opening up a door that he didn't want to open, because he might be told, kiss this woman, do this love scene, do this hot, steamy kiss love scene. To him, this could have opened up a door of possibly infidelity. And to him, it was being unfaithful, just even though he was even just acting, and he refused to take a role like that. And he kind of got pushed out of, a lot of big roles that he could have had, because he just said, I won't do it. A lot of young starlets come into Hollywood from way back in the day, going back into the Black Dahlia. We've all heard about her. She wanted to be an actress. She came to Hollywood. She wanted to be famous, and she ends up dead. We've seen, and I was actually working on a video about this guy. He's well known. He was this guy that went around meeting women and telling them he was a photographer, that he would do headshots. He would get their pictures out there to Hollywood, to agents, and help them. And he at the time, he was taking them out and murdering them. He was a serial killer. And these women, they wanted their shot, so they fell for it, and he took advantage of that. Before I move on into the next part of this story, I would just like to remind everybody, if you haven't already, to please like the video and subscribe to the channel. But the young singer in the movie, he just, he's singing in this club, he's playing his guitar, everybody's loving it. All the people in the club are just up. He's got them all grooving, everybody's just having a great time. And these vampires are outside the door wanting their little piece of it. That's how this industry they're talking about here works. And this person may not even be the best singer, the best dancer, the best actress that anybody's ever seen. In fact, if you really think about it, a lot of the people who were willing to do nudity, to do just raunchy, whatever, dress men dressing like a woman and doing just stuff that they probably maybe wouldn't have really done in their real lives, but they were willing to play at it. Their careers took off and they became world famous and got all these roles. So basically, what this woman is comparing this to is how insiders, bloodsuckers in this case, being compared to the vampires, are people that try to lure up and coming stars. And it's not just about stars, it's not about actors, it's not about singers, it's about anybody can fall victim to someone who wants to scam you or lure you into something, who's making these promises to you, and all you have to do is give in to what it is that they're asking you. And it may go against your morals, it may go against your values, but when people want something bad enough, they are often willing to compromise, and this is what this is about. She goes on to describe how the people who denied them, the bloodsuckers in this case, the vampires, or anybody, the metaphor is it's just anybody who is trying to leech or be a bloodsucker off of someone else's hard work or fame or their body or anything, their money or whatever it might be that they're trying to take from you. They're trying to gain something for themselves. So the people that denied these bloodsuckers and fought against them, they're all inside this bar, this nightclub, and they're fighting for their lives, and they're trying to band together to fight these people off. And the ones who either gave in and willingly went out there to be with these bloodsuckers and gave in and did what they were told, or the ones who were taken by them. In one scene, it shows them, all these vampires, they're outside, they're doing this choreographed song and dance act, and the people who didn't go are standing in the doorway watching this. And what this woman, this Chloe Bailey, what she compares this to is how certain people work so hard to either become an actress, a singer, a dancer, or even just somebody in everyday life who gets up every day and goes to work and puts in their 8 to 10 hours or 12 or whatever it might be, and works hard and just wants to be given their due and be given what they have worked for. They watch other people get it so easily because they're willing to compromise and they're willing to sell their soul in this case. And so she's comparing that scene as to how it's so easy for some people who don't put in the work. They used to call it paying dues in Hollywood. You had to pay your dues to become famous. This was how a lot of up and coming people had to do things back at the time. They they got these little roles in little TV shows, or maybe they were in a commercial. They might have worked for years and years before they got a break and got an actual movie or something where they, and singers maybe played in honky tonks and bars and county fairs and other things trying to break their way in. Now you have these shows like The Voice and American Idol where people go on and they sing and they are chosen and they get a contract, and some of them go on to fame like Kelly Clarkson and Carrie Underwood, and others you never hear of again. But basically what this Chloe Bailey is saying is that you don't have that anymore. You don't have people who have to put in extra hard work. They show up as a young person. They say, I want to become the next famous singer or the next famous actress. And they sell their soul in order to get that. And these insiders have figured out a way to convince them that you're going to... It's like she's saying this scene where they're all out there dancing and singing, choreographed, and it's really nice. It's very well done. The music's very nice. She's saying they just went into it because they were willing to allow these vampires to take their souls and to blood suck them, and they got their big break, and they got to sing and dance and act and put on the show. And I know people are probably wondering why is she talking about this? This has nothing to do with what I normally talk about, my normal. But it kind of does in a way, because if you think about it, most of the people that I talk about, the murdered people and these missing people, many of them probably just trusted the wrong person. They maybe needed a ride somewhere, so they asked somebody for a ride and they end up going missing. Maybe they're in a short-term relationship, they meet somebody. Maybe it's even just a one-time thing. They meet somebody, go out on a date. Maybe they meet somebody on one of these dating apps, or maybe it's a hookup, and they go missing or they're murdered because they trusted the wrong person. They didn't listen to maybe they didn't even have that little voice telling them, to be careful and that this person might not be everything they think. Some of them may have, and they just ignored that voice and went because they didn't really believe that people can be that mean and cruel, and find out that they were wrong. It's not always about people inviting people in. Sometimes you don't realize you're inviting the wrong people in. Very often you are taken in and you're lured and you're conned and you're scammed by people that your soul is under some type of spell from these people. We've all had this happen to us. We've all met people that we just thought the world of, and other people would just try to warn us and tell us there's something not right about them. They're not very good, decent person. But we don't see that. We see just the wonderful part of them. And then as time goes on, they begin to let their mask slip, and they begin to show their true colors, and they begin to make you feel like the people that tried to warn you, you feel kind of embarrassed and ashamed that you didn't listen to them, but you just did not see it. So you can't always blame yourself. Sometimes you just have to say there are people out there that are just so good at the lure. And this may be partly true in Hollywood and in those circles as well, is that they've 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 been taught and they've learned how to lure people into a false sense of security and a false sense of love in a way for them, and their own desires to reach heights of fame and notoriety take over, and they just ignore all red flags. So this happens in all walks of life. So I just wanted to talk about this, and if you go back to the very beginning of this, you hear me talk about Robert Johnson and how he died at the age of 27. Now, many of you may have heard of this. It's called the 27 Club, and I have another video that I'm going to post about this. This is about well-known, famous actresses and singers and songwriters, and so on, who all died at the age of 27. But I am going to post this video about the 27 Club and some of the people that belong to that and what happened to them. And like I said, the month of October, I'm just focusing on some different things, some more macabre, mysterious type things leading up to Halloween. I have a couple of videos that I'm going to be posting right around Halloween that do focus back to my normal genre of murder and unsolved cases. But I wanted to talk about this because I remember watching this woman talk about this and compare this. And this is a young woman who many people maybe haven't heard of. She does some jazz and blues type music. She's had some albums out. She does some videos, and she's very talented. She plays her own music. She plays different instruments. She wasn't willing to give in and go through some of these rituals that she was told she would have to do. She just hasn't climbed the ladder as high as some others in the famous world. But like I said, if you go back and if you haven't watched this special with Cat Williams, he's on this called Club Shay Shay. But just go look it up. Cat Williams gives this interview. Shannon Sharp. It's Cat Williams is being interviewed by Shannon Sharp. If you haven't watched it, I recommend it. He talks about a lot of Hollywood insiders, industry leaders, people, actors who just fall off the face of the earth because they wouldn't go along with these rituals, and the people who were willing to compromise and give in, and the things that were given to them because they did. And so I just wanted to talk about that because watching that movie, Sinners, and like I said, some people may not like it, but I really thoroughly enjoyed it. And when I watched this woman's video and went back and watched it again after hearing her compare these vampires to people who take your soul, maybe not literally with like a devil or demons or whatever, but they take your spirit from you. They take away your determination to get a job done. Whether it's something famous and you're going to be the next big singer on the stage, or whether it's just getting a promotion at your job or being considered or hired for a job that you're qualified for. And we've all had this happen to us. I've had this happen to me. But I wanted to talk about that. Like I said, if you haven't watched the movie Sinners, it's probably kind of, you're probably left wondering, what is this all about? But if you go back and watch it, if you go watch this movie, but thanks for watching, and I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to post this 27 Club. I made this video a while back, and I never did get around to editing and putting it up here, but I'm planning on doing that. I'm going to do these two back to back. And I just appreciate everybody for letting me talk about something a little different. From time to time, I may make videos like this where I kind of talk about some different things, but they'll always be about, you know, this type of subject matter where people are lost. Maybe not just lost, unsolved, missing, but lost in their hearts and their minds and taken by other people. Thanks for watching.